Hello, friends. Today we are going to meet a very successful entrepreneur. And yes, as is obvious, we are going to talk on entrepreneurship. So let me have the guest online and let's have a candid chat on what it takes to be a successful one. Hello, Aditi.
Hi, how are you?
Absolutely great, Aditi. So I was just about telling about you. So we're meeting a very successful entrepreneur. And I was just reading through her profile. So nice to be in entrepreneurship since the last nearly a decade now, Aditi.
That's true. Yeah, it has been a decade. Wow.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So it's been nearly 3.5 years for me, and a decade experience is definitely worth listening to. So we're definitely going to have a candid chat with Aditi and going to learn some aspects from her. So this
Awesome.
is the
Look
first one.
forward.
As I went through your profile, graduation, then you did an MBA, then worked a couple of years. I even saw that you worked as a faculty for a year in a business school. That was pretty
True.
interesting from a job working as a faculty, right? What prompted you to take up that assignment?
Well, honestly, everybody thought I was a great student, and so I'll make a great teacher. And my birthday, as it happens, is on the 5th of September. So, the college that I did very well, people thought that I'd make, really the best teacher. And that
Okay.
wasn't true at all. I was not patient to start with, but more importantly, I think I was a bit sadistic, frankly. I had the toughest paper. Everybody failed in my paper, so I had cost accounting.
Oh my God.
Accounting has always been my strongest subject. And honestly, I thought it'll be good because I wanted to try it out. I thought, it would be easy, but it wasn't very difficult to connect with students at that age, because if they don't want to listen to you, you really can't do much. And cost
Absolutely.
accounting is
Absolutely.
sort of a dry subject, right? So, yeah, so it was the only stint, as you can see. After that, I only tried guest lectures and so on and so forth because it's so much easier to be candid with students. I think that's what works best. And I switched from that profile. But interesting learning, interesting learning.
Yeah, so for a successful entrepreneur, having been a professor, that was a very unique combination. That's the reason I was curious to ask you about what prompted you to get there. But ever since, she's been a very successful entrepreneur and having managed this organization known as VResorts. And I read about your organization in terms of taking people to the off-beaten track. I mean, off-beaten places, not the regular hill stations that people think about. But yes, I believe the Indian traveler is now coming of age, right?
Well, actually, it wasn't so much about offbeat. Frankly, for us, what it was all about was leisure locations and the
Okay.
fact that people would want to explore India. So that's what the term that I gave it, offbeat. Abhi to kuch bhi offbeat nahi hai. Everything is on beat because everyone is traveling all over the place. But 10 years ago, this weekend travel market wasn't so evolved, and people weren't taking these small, breaks that you're seeing now, which have become so frequent, in fact. So at that time, the idea was to introduce people to new places, urge them to not go to the usual Jaipur, Goa, Nainital, and look at more places in the country. And the other thing was that, India has always fascinated me. Even today, there are amazing hamlets you will find, and you won't believe it. It's right near the city, but you have no idea that it exists. So we have very lovely hidden secrets even now. And that was what I wanted people to see. But it was more about introducing people to the weekend travel market. And so it had to be accessible, it had to be near the main tourist destination, the
Right.
main metros, actually, not the main tourist destination, the main metros. So that it was accessible, people could take a very quick break and then come back, and as you can see, that's even the trend now. Instead of these long haul holidays in India, especially the domestic traveler prefers these short breaks. So that was basically the idea with which we resorts had started.
Perfect. So I just came back 2 days back from Solin and I stayed right
Acha,
in the mall road. So I believe the next time I need to travel, I definitely need to take your guidance as to where I should be going.
absolutely. I can tell you some very interesting places.
Okay, so Aditi, now talking to you as an entrepreneur, right? So I really wanted to hear from you. What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur?
I have done this reel just recently, in fact, where I figured that no one is successful. I mean, I don't think Elon Musk also thinks he's successful. He has so much to grapple with on a daily basis, right? So no one is really
Okay, leave aside
successful.
the word successful. What does it take to be an
Yeah,
entrepreneur?
it's a very elusive word, you know, successful, happy. ये सब बड़ा elusive से words होते हैं. So I kind of stay away from there. But I would, you know, maybe take that question as how do you start a startup and what do you do really? And I must tell you that my time was a pre-COVID time. So it was
Right.
very different. We were valuation driven. We were building businesses which were very quickly scaling. So scaling was the main aim at that time. The idea was to capture the market. Even today, you know, in the travel industry, you see so much flack that Make My Trip gets, right? Oh, it's the dominant player. It's a monopoly, and
Right.
CCI is
Right.
after it, and everybody is after them. But the aim of the startup at that time, at least, was really about that. Was about market control and gaining market share. And I feel that thinking has changed a lot since COVID time. I think people figured that instead of looking at building large scaled businesses, because at that time, I think COVID ke time pe everybody had a cash crunch. People figured that building sustainable businesses, rich on cash, getting to profitability quickly. I think that really is the mantra these days. Also, the fact of the matter is that it's very against the VC philosophy. VC philosophy says grow very big, but the PE
Right.
philosophy was the private equity philosophy was always that support growth. And I think
Okay.
even in early ventures now, people are really looking at the path to profitability very quickly. And that I think is what is the main change and what is the main mindset. And I quite like that. The other thing that I can tell you about, which is gaining prominence in the West, it already has. In India, I think it will pick up in the next year, 2 years maximum, is something that we call as the triple bottom line approach. So, success would be not only about how much cash you generate, but how much you give back. And by give back, I don't mean 2% of your CSR money. I really mean how does the business impact society? Okay. And then
Right.
what is our carbon footprint? What is our, environmental focus? So all those things I think will become important. So the triple bottom line approach will become even more important in the days to come. And that would really entail what it means to be successful.
Perfect. Perfect. That's very interesting. Yeah, I'm sure. So, gone are the days when people just spoke about growth at any cost, as you mentioned. I mean, ultimately, a business needs to be sustainable, and for it to be
Yeah.
sustainable, you have to be generating profits. There ought to be a
Yeah.
roadmap at least to generate profits.
Correct.
It just can't be mindless growth. Perfect. So, Aditi, any specific age that you feel, any conducive age, become an entrepreneur?
I mean, everybody says there's no age, but I say that the more mature you are, the better you are at it. Because the first time is going to be pretty hard, okay? And you'll also realize that you didn't learn anything in your job. The job has not equipped you, no matter even if you're a partner in McKinsey, I would say. It's not equipped you to become the entrepreneur. That's for sure. So I'd say the more mature you are, the more you can deal with because you're solving a problem every day. I'm sure you know because you must be doing the same thing every day. And the more mature you are, or the more experience you have, or the better network that you have, those are the ways that you will become successful quicker. So I feel that in India, especially, unless of course you're from IIT, IIT has a strong ecosystem, and that's the reason why
Absolutely.
boys become entrepreneurs very quickly over there because they
You're
already
right.
have that ecosystem, right? And they have the network. So if you don't have that, you get it first and then become an entrepreneur. Otherwise, I mean, age is like it's another number only.
I actually believe what you said. So, and especially when you spoke about IIT, I also have been in touch with a couple of IIT Delhi graduates. Again, IIT Delhi is something which has really gained prominence over the last decade or so, especially with a lot of successful, I can use the word successful for them, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Successful entrepreneurs
absolutely.
coming in.
Absolutely, they
And
are. There's no doubt.
definitely because of the ecosystem. So the Aditi is very right. You know, it's important to have that ecosystem in place. So unless you really come from you have a great pedigree. Luckily, I would say me and Aditi both come in from that pedigree. But even then, what she said in terms of experience, a pedigree is no match for experience. So
And
once you've
network.
really and network, obviously. See, Aditi, that pedigree also helps you have that right network with
True,
you.
true, true. Yeah,
But
true.
even the pedigree and the network is no match for your experience. So once you really burnt, really toiled the path, you really gone through all kinds of experiences in terms of managing certain portfolios, having taken some risks even as an employee. So all those things add up. And Aditi, I would say, so I was lucky enough to have worked about 6, 7 years in sales and distribution. I believe that really prepared me very well for an entrepreneurial stint
Sure,
because you learn to accept no, which is so very
sure, sure.
important. I'm sure when you started off, there were a couple of doors which really didn't open despite so many attempts that you made,
No
right?
doors open. I mean, you have to keep, actually, no doors open. You just have to keep at it till somebody says yes. That really is it, right? Uh, it's wrong to say that, any door opens in the beginning. I mean, if it was so easy, everyone would do it. Yeah, that's the point.
Absolutely. So Aditi, now with let's say the mainstream employment not generating that numbers which it used to. So I believe full-time employment, when I say mainstream, I believe in the coming years, full-time employment will not be a thing of the past, but will not have so many openings as we had when we graduated from
Sure.
post-graduation.
Right.
So now one last message. So when you look at these youngsters, we just spoke about having a pedigree, having a network, having the experience. But when you look at the future, a couple of years down the line, and many of these full-time opportunities not being available. So what's the message for, let's say, people who yet in their 20s? What do they do?
I feel today's generation really hustles well, yeah. So I don't feel that they even want a full-time role. I don't see them being like us. Okay, we consultant check first the MBA check, उसके पहले college check, then MBA check, then the consultant role in some big five or the audit role. I mean, it's so typical. We were such a typeset generation, right? And the generation, the millennials are completely different. I don't think I get them, honestly. There's a lot which I don't get about them. But I don't feel that they are really looking for those full time 12-hour, 18-hour roles anymore. I feel they are very, very passionate about the way they live life. And they figured it out smarter than us that, look, we are just getting older. So, we don't know when we are going to really live that life because we're on that rat race and unfortunately we're on it now. अब कुछ नहीं कर सकते उसका. But they are already living balanced lives. They've seen a pandemic in their life, which, we wouldn't have thought of for our kids and for this gen. And I
Right.
feel this completely sort of vindicated them. Okay, because even people like us figured, acha, haan, sirf kaam nahi hai, balanced life chahiye. We were also happy, frankly, in the first 2, 3 months. We didn't know what was happening, sure. We didn't know the economic ramifications, sure. But we were so happy to get that time at home. Don't you remember those days? I mean, I still remember them, and I'm like, okay, they're all but gone. And the fact is that I believe that they do imbibe those values that we're talking about. So, living that balanced life about really what makes you feel happy is something that I feel is great. Um, and they may not be looking for those full-time roles, which is fine. I take a lot of kids who are part-timers and they do equally well. The guys who work will work. So it doesn't matter whether those full-time roles are available or not. I just say hustle, do the job that you want. We didn't know what we wanted. We thought, no, consulting, wow, we've made it, life ho gaya hamara. But these guys go after what they want. They don't care about consulting. They will go after the travel jobs, the jobs that are interesting
Right.
for them, the creative jobs. It's quite
Right.
interesting to see this gen, honestly. So I don't think they need a message. Rather, it's the other way around. Maybe we should imbibe their messages.
Well, right. As you were speaking, I was reminded of the movie Three Idiots. So you remember that movie in which Amir Khan has two more
My
friends,
favorite
and
movie.
one of the friends actually gets a call from some photographer in the Brazilian rainforest. So as you actually spoke, I was reminded of that movie, and that movie
Uh,
actually was again and then raising the
about
bar.
this only. Do what you love. Yeah. So I think they're
Absolutely.
better at it. That we took our time to figure it out. I think they'll figure it out much faster.
Brilliant. Aditi, it's been really wonderful talking to you. So, for those of you who joined in late, I was talking to Aditi, I wouldn't use the word, she asked me not to use the word successful, but yes, a very vibrant entrepreneur, has tons of experience as an employee, as a faculty in a school, and then moving on to entrepreneurship, setting up her own venture, and she's an angel investor as well. So I really had a wonderful time talking to her in terms of her vibrancy, in terms of her risk-taking ability, and having scaled up her organization, not just a scale up, but yes, ensuring a sustainable growth and yes, giving back to the society. So, Aditi, it was really wonderful interacting with you, and I
Thank
really
you.
look
Thank
forward
you
to
so
talking to you
much.
for my next holiday sometime.
Thank you. Absolutely.
See you. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.